Hello again, everyone. So this week I'll be talking about teams in Nashville, but I'm also going to make a stop off today in Memphis. So I'm going to be talking about all the teams in Tennessee, just because then I get the whole state taken care of and talked about. Because two of the three sports teams in that state are doing extremely well this year, and the one is going to be rebuilding during this off season. So starting off, I'm going to be talking about the Memphis Grizzlies of the NBA, who are currently sitting first in the Southwest Division and second in the Western Conference. Now, the Southwest Division is arguably, in my opinion, the most competitive of all divisions in the NBA, because they got four teams in that division that I think could potentially win it. Like I said, right now the Grizzlies are leading it, but the Rockets, Mavericks, and Spurs all have the rosters and the talent and the ability to come through and overtake them in that division. The Grizzlies will make the playoffs for sure. Whether or not it's as the second seed, as the winner of the Southwest Division, yet to be determined, because like I said, those four teams are all very, very close in who could win that division. So who wins that division is not going to get decided, I think, until the last week of the season, unless you see a few of these teams tank, or one of these teams really take off and go on like a 10-game winning streak or something. It won't be decided who will win that division until the last week of the season. So looking at their current roster, and what their roster has done and where they stand against the league as team stats, and why they're doing so well, is they're 8th in the league in field goal percentage. So obviously if you're in the top 10 in the league for a field goal percentage, you're going to win a lot of games because you're getting a lot of baskets in the net. So they got a 46.1% field goal percentage, so that's good. Anything close to 50% is extremely good, and like I said, you're going to win a lot of games because you're making a lot of baskets. They're also 5th in the league in free throw percentage, 77.9. So those are easy baskets. You don't get to the line, the free throw line, and make those baskets because they're freebies essentially. You got no defenders on you to try to make that basket. So that's how they're also winning a lot of games, is because they're getting to the line and they're making those baskets at the line. It doesn't matter if you can get to the free throw line 20 times a night, but you only make 10 out of 20 of those shots, then getting to the free throw line isn't an advantage to your team. But if you get to the line 20 times a night and you're making 15, 16 out of those 20, then you're going to win a lot of games because you're making those easy baskets. They're also 4th in the league in turnovers. They only allow 12.9 turnovers a game, and then they're 7th in the league in steals, so they're getting 8.5 steals a game, so that's good. So that's another way to ensure that you get a lot of wins, is that you have good ball control and that you keep the ball on the offense and in your hands. So having a having a low turnover rate and a high steals rate is what your team is going to look for as well, to get control of the ball, and that's what the Grizzlies are doing as well. Regardless of your success as a team, if you're first in the league or first in your division, doesn't matter. A professional team should always find an area of their team where they can improve, especially in their division being so tight and going to be a highly contested division to get the win in. Where I think they can improve on as a team, they're only 21st in the league in three-point percentages, so they could get some more points from behind the line in three-point range. But if you're 5th in the league in free throw percentage, it makes way more sense to get the ball down low to Marcus Gasol and Zach Randolph, let them get fouled, and get those easy points from the free throw line. But it's just another weapon you can use to keep the defense on their heels, kind of thing. Is if you can nail some more 3-point shots, because right now they're only 21st in the league, so they don't really have a threat in their 3-point shot area of the team. So that's one way they can improve. Another way they can improve is they're only 19th in the league in offensive rebounding. So that's where you can lead your second chance opportunities, your second chance points, because they're only getting 10.6 offensive rebounds a night. Now I say only because they're 19th in the league. That's still decent. If you're getting 10 offensive boards a night, that's getting a lot of second chance opportunities. But getting some more offensive reboundings will allow you to get some more. Again, some of these stats seem inflated, like, oh, they're 19th in the league, but the leader in the league in offensive boards a night is like 12.9, so it's like the difference between 1st and 20th is only like 2 boards a night, but 2 rebounds could equal up to 6 points, kind of thing, right? If you get 2 balls down low to Randolph and Gasol, they both get fouled, they both make for free throws, there's 6 points easy right there. That could be the 6 points you need for a tight game, like you saw last night when they were playing the Clippers, a 90-87 win there. So again, their games are tight. So anytime you can get an extra points on the board, whether that be through offensive rebounding, through getting to the free throw line, through getting a ball in the 3-point line area going in, that's going to help your team succeed and obviously lead to more wins. So that's where I think a couple areas they can improve to help solidify their division and help them win it in that highly contested division, like I've been saying, is increase your offensive rebounding and just add maybe 3-point shots a little more, just to give another weapon to the team and another thing to keep the defense on their heels. But the way they're playing right now, get the ball down low and get those easy baskets and get those fouls and make those free throws like they've been doing, and they'll continue to succeed and make the playoffs with a decent seed. If they don't win their division, I still think they'll be a top four seed, depending on where the Rockets, Mavericks, and Spurs fill out in the Southwest Division. I still think the Grizzlies have an opportunity to be a top 4 seed, so that'll be good for them. Now, looking specifically at players on their roster, they don't have any player that's like a top 20 in the league in points per game, but they got a lot of players that do a lot of things well. Marc Gasol is the highest points per game in the league person on the team. He's 27th in the league in points per game. He had 18.2 points per game, 8 rebounds a night, 3.7 assists. It's a great guy to have on your team. And he was only drafted in 2008, so he's still got a lot of playing years left into him, and he's a good guy to have down low. He's always going to get compared to Pau Gasol, but I think, arguably, I might even say he's better than his brother. But again, that's an argument that I'm not going to get into, because tons of people do that all the time, and that's not fair to him. I don't think he needs to justify his skill and be compared to his brother. He's his own player. He's on his own team. And Pau was playing for the Lakers for the long time, and the Lakers are a dynasty, and he has Kobe and all those guys. The Grizzlies, up until a few years ago, were still grinding it out and weren't playing as well, but now they're second in the West, and they got a long playoff road, I think, ahead of them that they can run down. So, like I said, Mark is 27th in the league in points per game, so he's a great guy to have, only drafted in 2008. After him, 38th in the league, you got Mike Conley. He was also just drafted in 2007, so he's still got a lot of playing years left into him. 16.8 points a night, 3.3 rebounds, 5.4 assists, so another great guy to have on your team. Then you look at who I think is, if you had to pick a face of the franchise and who their identity revolves around, it would be Zach Randolph, I think. But again, they got so many stars and so many good players on the team, and I really think you need to have a specific player as the face of your franchise kind of thing. But if you were to say there was, I would say Zach Randolph, purely just because he's been there the longest of all these players. He was drafted back in 2001, so he's in his 30s now, but that doesn't necessarily mean he can't play another 2, 3, 4 seasons, especially when he's 5th in the league in rebounding a night. He's averaging a double-double. He's averaging 16.6 points a night and 11.9 rebounds. Why he was not at the All-Star game boggles my mind. He's 5th in the league in rebounds per night, and he's averaging 16.6 points. He's averaging a double-double. How he wasn't at the All-Star game, like I said, boggles my mind. He should have been there, should have been representing the Grizzlies, especially when he's playing on a team that is second in the West. So, disappointed that he wasn't there. Feel he should have been there and deserved to be there. Then you got Jeff Green, 51st in the league in points per game. So you have 4 players right here, top 50 in the league in points per game. That's also going to help you win a lot of games if you got 4 guys in the top 50 in the league in points per game. You got Jeff Green, 15.8 points a night, 4.2 rebounds, adds in a couple of assists. That's another great guy to have on your team right there. You have, I've already mentioned 4 players who are all averaging over 15 points a night. So if they're averaging over 15 points a night as your 4 guys, there's 60 plus points a night. You throw in a great bench who can produce, 30 to 40, you're going to win a lot of games, because if you can get to that 100-point game a night, you're going to win a lot of games, and that's what they're averaging right now. I think they're averaging about just over 100 points per game, so if you can keep the opposition to under 100 points a game, you're going to win a lot of games. It's simple math, right? So those are 4 guys I got right there. I also got Courtney Lee, again, drafted in 2008. He throws in his 10.8 points a night. There's another good guy to have on the team for sure as well. So when I was looking through their roster, obviously I was like, do they have any building blocks, any young guys that were drafted in like 2012 or something? They do, but they're not any guys you can build around. Like the guys they drafted in 2011 or 2012. They average 3 points a night, 2 boards, something like that. They're just guys that can go in to give your stars a rest for 5 minutes, kind of thing. So there's no building blocks there. But if Randolph can still play for a few years, Gasol and Conley, Jeff Green, Courtney Lee, they were all only drafted in 07 or 08 respectively, so they can still play for another 10 years if they really wanted to. That's being very, very exaggerated, but at least another 5 for sure for those 4 guys. And like I said, and Zebo could probably play for another 2 or 3. So you got a roster that you can use for the second half of this decade anyway, and then potentially continue to win some Southwest Division titles and make some playoff appearances as high seeds in the West. So that's good to go right there. And then when you look at their bench, they got Vince Carter, they got Tony Allen, so they got veteran guys on the bench, and that is something that I think championship and playoff contending teams need. Is you have to have a veteran bench and guys who can come in and produce and respect their role and be okay with their role. And I think at this stage of their career, Tony Allen and Vince Carter, they're cool with being bench guys. I think any player that is going to be on a potential championship team, and especially a team that's going to make a playoff run, I think if you're a veteran, you take the role you're given and you run with it, kind of thing. If they want an opportunity to start, they could probably start, but there would be starters on non-contending teams, non-playoff making teams, and at this stage in their career, I think they're at I want to get a ring, I want to be on a championship team, and that's understandable. You do see a lot of high-end players who are drafted obviously early because they were drafted by a poor team, and after a few years the team still isn't winning, so then they go and they sign a contract with, the Spurs or the Lakers or some big high-end team that always makes the playoffs. Lakers are a poor example because they won't this year, but I'm just using them as a future kind of thing. And then the fans will get upset, like when LeBron James left Cleveland. That'll be the most recent example I'll use. The fans were upright, and for me as a general fan, sometimes yes, I can understand you being angry with that, but at the same time, he was still young, so he could have stayed with Cleveland and they may have won a championship again this year. They might squeak into the playoff spot, and by might they will, kind of thing. But that's because he's now got Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving's developed. He has the talent around him. When it was him, he didn't really have a lot of talent. But if a player's been in the league for 10 plus years and he's like, I want to get a championship before I retire, then he's completely legit to go and sign with a contending team. I have no problem with that. Players deserve that, especially if they've been a good player for the league, a good face for the league. They've put in the time. They've been loyal to the city they've played in. Then that's completely understandable, and I'm completely okay with that. You deserve to go and win a championship. That's the goal of any player that plays in the NBA, is to become a champion and get an NBA championship. So that's cool. And with the roster they have, I think the Grizzlies have an opportunity to go and do that. And I think they might be able to continue to get some veteran players like Vince Carter and Tony Allen on their bench, because there's going to be players who want to go and have a chance at a ring, and Memphis could be a good spot for them. So even though they don't have a lot of young players that they've drafted, I don't see that as being a problem with the roster they have. I think they can continue with that roster in the second half of this decade. And like I said, veteran players who want a ring might be looking to Memphis as a place to go to. So good luck to Memphis for the rest of the season. Continue to win those tight games like you did last night against the Clippers. Watch the Southwest Division; it's very tight. It's gonna be interesting to see that go down the stretch. Who's gonna win that division? And good luck to the Grizzlies in the playoffs. Hopefully you get a high seed, so you get a lot of home games. And I will be continuing this week with more teams from Tennessee. Bye.